Welcome to Thursday's Market Update, where it's always snowing and always cold, and we are at what looks like a church building, but it's not.
It's not.
Where are we?
We're at a recording studio renovation right now, and our business name is called Carpet Booth Studios. And we actually worked with Bucky in our former space, and now we're at our new space that we're renovating.
Zach is the proud owner of Carpet Booth Studios, and we get the first peek of the construction in process. We need to get inside.
Let's do it. Let's go inside.
We are now inside, which is a good thing. What is Carpet Booth Studios, Zach?
Carpet Booth Studios is a recording and production studio here in Rochester. So we mainly work with musicians, artists, bands, ensembles to help them take their songs that they've written and record them so they can mass distribute it through online, through CDs, etc.
And this space, when Carpet Booth originally started, was not in a church.
No.
Where did it start?
Started at the Deason's Plaza.
Even before that, though.
Oh, even before that. Oh, so where the name comes from. Yeah, exactly. The name Carpet Booth comes from middle school days, early high school days, when I would record with my friends. We had stolen some carpet tiling from a dumpster here in town and tacked it up inside of my mom's closet in the basement to make a vocal booth. And me and my buddies would always want to go write and record music together, so we'd always say, let's go to the Carpet Booth to record. So that when we launched the studio here in town, we decided to kind of pay homage to our origins that way.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And you are a musician yourself, so
Yeah.
that's really what's got you into it. But have you seen a need for this quality of recording studio, and what are you seeing as far as this?
Yeah, I think, and we had conversations about this early on. I never thought Rochester would be able to support a professional, high-quality studio. And so I was working out of studios in the Minneapolis area, doing stuff with portable gear that I would just bring to a band's house and meet them there, or rent out spaces. And I rented a temporary spot for a while with you and someone else as a landlords. And word of mouth spread that there was a spot in town where people could come get recordings. And our business kind of rocketed from there. We were straight busy for a year and a half, and that led us to start searching for a new spot. And after many searchings of spots, we ended up here.
So we're in the middle of the construction phase.
Yeah.
And you're hoping for spring? What's kind of the timeline?
Yeah, our hope is that we can open our doors to the public in March.
Nice.
We currently have some sessions booked in late March. And so we're hoping those first couple weeks of March we're open, getting the lights on, doing some tests, and that we can get ready for our sessions.
So you're getting to see it as we're just getting the construction closer and closer and closer to completion. So you'll have to imagine a little bit about the floor plan. If you could walk us through what the finished product might look like, that would be awesome.
I'd love to. I think this is the first time we're announcing this as well, which is cool. So basically, this is what you see right here. We call a floating floor. And what this is going to be is a control room. And so this is where the audio engineer, the producer, sits behind a mixing board or a console with all that fancy gear, all the fancy lights. And we have some windows that we peer out. And this is where we control all of the technical side of the audio engineering and the recording side of things.
So this is behind the house, as we'll call it.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you're looking out towards the musicians right there.
We see some angles on the front of the room here, and we'll have 3 sets of windows that'll sort of look out into what we'll call the live room. That's the live room out here. And so we'll have some doors on that side, but when you enter into the live room area here, this is going to be a myriad of adjustable configuration. So sometimes we'll just have a drum set out here and we're just recording a drummer, or we'll have a 7 to 8 piece band all in the same room tracking at the same time. And then behind us here, when we're looking out from the live room area, we're going to have what we call 2 ISO booths. And so isolation booths are used for throwing singers in there to get a sort of more dead captured feel. Or to put amplifiers in so that noise doesn't bleed into other microphones that are going on. And so we'll have one on each side of that control room, and then one on the corner of the stage as well here.
And musicians is a focus, but are you seeing even more of a demand for like voiceovers, for commercials, for audiobooks? I mean, that's such a big thing nowadays too.
Yeah, it's a huge market, and I think we stopped running sessions in mid-December to do the renovations. Probably the last 3 to 4 months, maybe 5 to 6 months that we were open before we stopped running sessions, we started to see a good amount of that start to pile up here, which we really enjoy doing. We like the diversity, even within music. last year we worked on some punk records and some country records, and it's very wide diversity of the genres we work in. So that sort of corporate work, as we can call it, an umbrella term for voiceovers, podcasts, that kind of stuff, we really love working with those people as well.
I know the insulation up here has to be the soundproof style, right? So this area has to be extremely soundproof, right?
Yeah, we're doing all we can to keep the sound in and keep sound from outside coming in as well.
One thing you pointed out was the hockey pucks. How are you using hockey pucks in a
Yeah, exactly.
studio?
Yeah, it's kind of odd. So we're having these floating floors around. Rubber is a material that doesn't allow vibrations to pass through. And without getting too technical, sound is simply vibrations in layman's terms. And so whenever we're able to use the hockey pucks, any sort of rubber conduit to eliminate those vibrations from carrying into other spaces, then we can just sort of keep in and isolate what's going on in a certain room to that room.
And you ended up in a church.
Yeah.
How did that come to be?
Oh, man, that's a long story, but I toured the spot. I met an elder at the church here through a mutual friend, and he walked me through the spot. And, of course, I saw the potential it had. I mean, what an amazing space with the sort of lofted ceiling that we have here, and 6,400 square feet in the whole building. I mean, it's quite spacious. And I kind of actually set it aside for a couple months, and they contacted me again and seeing if we were interested, and the stars ended up aligning that it worked out great with a financer that came on board, and here we are.
Nice.
Yeah. Great. So right when you walk into, this is the former sanctuary, and so this floating floor that we showed right away is going to be the control room here, and again, that's where the producer and the engineer sits and sort of looks over the sessions. And then on each side, we've got some windows peering into what we call ISO booths. Again, vocalists, instrumentalists, amplifiers, different things like that to sort of keep the sound within so it doesn't bleed into other microphones. And then we just got a configuration of what we call sound lock and airlock rooms, which are glorified hallways, basically. But just allows, somebody entering here, we don't have any chance of that sound of doors shutting to get into what's happening here and what's happening here. And then with these ISO, we also got one more ISO room in the corner here that's on the former stage. And so with all the tie lines meaning mic inputs and all the audio cable, we're going to have 1,000,001 configurations that we can do as far as accommodating to different setups and different ensembles and bands, which we're excited for. I've worked in a lot of studios where you hit a limit of what you're able to do with the type of configuration you want really fast. And so I wanted to make sure that if we were doing all this renovation that we went a little overboard on what our configuration possibilities are, and we've really hit the nail on the head on that, which is nice.
What is this?
Yeah. So this is our.
First, I saw a trip to Canada, and it was like in the back of this U-Haul trailer. Like he drove all the way out there to pick this thing up.
We did. Yeah. So this is a console, which for some, the sort of layman's way to put it is a mixing board, basically. So it has microphone preamps and equalizers in it that allow us to get signal from the microphone into our computer system, basically. And is a simple way to put it. This specific brand and model is a British company named Trident. It's a very reputable brand. And this specific model, called the Dream, was one I've had my eyes on for a few years now. And I knew that when we wanted to do the new studio, I would do all I could to get one. They're not cheap, as you can imagine, but to make a long story short, I got a heck of a deal. And we drove to British Columbia. Yeah, to get it. We rented a U-Haul and packed it up real nice and brought it home.
How did you find it? Were you like Google Alerts, wait for the Dream?
Yeah, I actually had one. So I had the exact same kind, like same condition. These are like 93, 94 when these were made in Dallas. And I had one. I put a deposit down on it with this guy on Reverb.com, is like a eBay just for high quality audio gear, basically. It's like you have to be vetted as a seller. It's like a really reputable site. So I put a deposit down with this guy, and the reason he was selling it was because he was getting a divorce and he needed the money to relocate. Which is sad, but I was stoked to get a good deal on it because I was getting it at like 20% of the price I should have been paying for it. But the dude messaged me like 3 weeks before I was planning on going down. Thank God I hadn't bought a plane ticket yet, or hadn't, set all my plans in motion yet, that he was going to stay with his wife. So he wanted to keep the board, which is cool. Like, I was kind of split. I was like, good for you, but I thought I had this board. So then and then there was like 2 weeks where I didn't know what we were going to do. And it was like the 8th page of some Google result on Reverb. I found this, but it wasn't listed as available. So the only way I ever would have found it was like on the 8th page of Google. And it wasn't sold, but it wasn't for sale. It basically said this item is no longer available for sale. But I had contacted the seller, and I asked if he'd match the same ridiculous price I had with that, and they said they would. So,
nice.
Yeah, worked out. And it was great. I actually ended up, me and my wife made a trip out of it, and we stopped in Portland, Oregon, where her brother lives, and we spent Christmas with them. So,
fun.
And then we drove up, so it worked out.
That's amazing. The equipment that goes into this is just, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of moving parts. But I'm so excited for this. I mean, even visually, it'll just be a nice centerpiece in the studio, but it's got all the functionality and practicality that we needed for our specific application and setup. And again, like I said, out of the last 9 months, we've been working out of this room, so I'd be in there and an artist would be in here, whether it was drums, vocals, etc. And our long-term goal is to continue to have these rooms operate as a Studio B. So Studio A would be upstairs, the sort of full-service, vintage analog gear. And then Studio B would exist maybe for local or beginner musicians with a more digital format of audio gear, cheaper rate, but way simpler setup. And so as you can imagine, though, that's another chunk of change to get this up and running as well. So we're just going to see what A does for a while, and if we find success up there and we find that we're busy there and we want to add in this as a package, we're going to hope to put a window in between here. Because the nice thing I had about our former space at the Decent Spot was because it was in a shared space and everything, I've reached a price ceiling like right away that I felt comfortable charging people for the sort of experience they were getting, as you can imagine. And because of that, it gave a lot of beginner and local musicians a really affordable spot to get really nice, high quality recordings. And that was a really important like community role I think we were playing for a few months. And so I don't want to abandon that, because upstairs are going to be super nice. So we're trying to figure out how to live in those two worlds.
Did you go to school for this stuff?
Yeah.
What did you go to school for?
I got my bachelor's in voice performance, liberal arts and music with a minor in arts administration. But I had emphases in voice theory and composition were like my emphases for my major. So
you knew it for a long time that this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, in 5th grade, when I was living in Texas, I went to, we had magnet schools down there. Are you familiar with those? It's public school, but they each have emphases. There's a science, a math, a fine arts one. And I got accepted to the fine arts public school in the city we were living in. And we had once, like every few weeks, we had an extracurricular teacher come after 3 and teach something specific. So we had a djembe drummer that would come and teach us how to play djembe for one day. It was just these extracurricular things. And there was some guy that's probably like how old I am now, upper 20s, when I was like in elementary school, that came in with a little 4-track cassette recorder. Which is like this minus a million, it was like the most simple version of what you have going on here. And he just taught us with just 4 tracks on how to like record your voice and then record claps and record hits. And then we just made a little composition in the room. And from that moment on, I was like, songwriting, recording, production, like I'm just addicted to it. And so kind of all my steps, like extracurricular activities, education-wise, internship, apprenticeship stuff was targeted towards what we're building upstairs, which is crazy to say out loud, because it's been the dream. So
if people want to find out more about Carpet Booth, keep along with the progress of the construction, where can they follow you and follow your business?
I'm pretty active on Instagram, so at Carpet Booth is sort of the best spot, but we really keep up with our Facebook page as well, which is facebook.com/Carpet Booth, and Twitter Carpet Booth as well, otherwise carpetbooth.com. So it's just everything Carpet Booth, basically.
And I'm sure if they want to come out here, you're here late nights, putting in the work to try to get this thing done soon.
Oh, yeah. Logging plenty of hours. So anybody, even though we're not up, if somebody wants to come see the space, they can set up a tour with me, and I'd be happy to show them what we're doing.
Great. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, you bet.
Appreciate that.